God isn't doing this. Read Job in the Bible. It is the devil. So look, it wasn't that comment that they said about if I think what that Trump hater was trying to say is that the person you support, if their castle is taken down, then they're obviously, because that you have to understand the mentality of that side. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just, I'm being factual. The mentality is that, well, if he doesn't have his castle anymore, and he doesn't have wealth, like they think that he can't be president. Well, they don't want him to be president. But do you get what I'm saying? Like, this wasn't about God. Like, he was just trying to say that would Trump supporters still support him? Yeah, because it's not about that material stuff. Yeah, Trump's been successful in his life. He has. He has been very successful in his life. And I think he's been a bit like, even though the left doesn't want to admit it, I think he's been a lot like Peter Pan, right? Or not Peter Pan, not Peter Pan, Robin Hood. So people say, oh, he didn't pay these people and he didn't pay those, and you'll get everybody in your comment section say, no, I was a contractor, he didn't pay me. Yeah, the mob said that all the contractors in New York especially, you couldn't build anything without going through the mob. People that have come out of the mob have said that. So I don't think Trump paid people that shouldn't be doing the work. So when people say he didn't pay people, he didn't pay for this, yeah, he said he won't pay for something that is shitty. I mean, I don't think that's too much to ask. If he sees the mob bringing in a bunch of Venezuelan people to do one of his buildings, and they're, getting even more rich off of it, then he's not going to pay them. And I respect him for that. I do. Because he's about give the job to the American workers. And some of these mob families, they were giving the work to illegal immigrants. Because then while they sat around, just like you've seen in the mob movies, while they sit around the table playing cards, the slaves, the cheap labor is out there doing all the work. Yeah, Trump didn't pay the mobsters. What's wrong with that? And really, the mobsters, at least the ones I've seen have said themselves that Trump was never involved in any mafia activity. And again, Trump I think it was his idea, told the New York detectives or FBI, somebody, to come in and use his hotels and his casinos to take, because he knew the mob was in there all the time doing business. So he's like, stake it out. I don't care. You can use it. So he kind of has a history of being a crime fighter. But the left, like they want to do with him. Because really, like at this point, if you're really still voting for Kamala, then, or you're supporting the Democrat Party, then either you're never going to pull yourself away from the mainstream media. You have already been brainwashed into a place where you'll never snap out of it, or you're corrupt. Really, it's only those two things. You're corrupt. You're likely a mafia person, or you're likely a criminal. And so you wouldn't want the person that's been spending a lot of his adult life helping take down the bad guys with law enforcement. You wouldn't want to support him. So, but this wasn't trying to say that, because I saw some other comments that were saying, these are people's lives. Yes, it is. It was more going after. It was this comment, like, this is what the left does. Okay, so they think even if Mar-a-Lago even if it was blown down, okay, even if it was destroyed, would that change your opinion of voting for him? Of course not. But that's how shallow the left is. So that's why I posted that video. It wasn't trying to be insensitive to the victims. No, I get it. It's a mess going on, and people really need to be. You got to be careful here. I know what Job says, but look, God does talk about being the weather Himself too. So all these people talking about cloud seeding and all this stuff, I'm not saying, there's evidence for all that. There's total evidence for it. But they've been flying into hurricanes and storm clouds for a long time, right? They show it on the media decades ago. So I don't doubt that stuff goes on just so that they can do a land grab. But don't forget that sometimes the weather is God, too. It depends on the location, I think. I'm not saying here in America. I'm just saying, sometimes that's the way he, pours wrath down. In this case, I don't think that's what's going on. I think it's deliberate. It's globalists doing it. They want to make you helpless. That's what the whole thing is here, is to make you afraid and helpless, and then start demanding to the government, do something. You have to do something. No, the American people can help each other out. That's what was going on, right, in North Carolina? And yet FEMA was furious about that. Yeah, because they're globalists. They don't want you going. That's the last thing. There's a reason they want to keep everybody divided. They want to keep you divided because then, you're not going to worry about your neighbor, right? But there were so many people that just stopped what they were doing to go up there to help. And then FEMA was, the federal government, the globalists were infuriated with that. I mean, the biggest thing the globalists fear is the American people uniting and stop playing with this, left-right bullshit. It's about who is the best person that cares about this country. And there's too many people in this country that don't care about it, that could care less. There's a bunch of young people that were never, brought up on the values I was, or taught about the America I was taught about in history class. So we have a lot of problems going on. And the one thing the globalists are banking on is one, they want you to be desperate and nobody helping you so that you will run to them. And then that's how they do it. They create the chaos. They create the crisis, as Rahm Emanuel had said, although I don't think it was his quote. But they create the crisis so then they can be the ones that come in and fix it for you, but they're going to design it the way they want to do it. So that's why they don't want to let anybody into North Carolina or up into the Appalachian Hills, wherever. Well, I know there's a bunch of places where they're not letting people in, but people are still trying to get up there to them, the American people. And see, that's important to remember, because even though socialists, they're all about social welfare systems. America, and they like to try to make America like the Republican side. For years they've tried to say, you don't care about people. No, the Republican side, conservative side anyway, has always been more about what Jesus taught, to be honest. What Jesus taught was, teach somebody how to fish and they'll have food for life. But if you just can them fish, they're never going to learn how to do it themselves. And America was about Jesus's values, about not that you should disregard your neighbor, not that at all. And that in times of crisis, Americans come together. It's just these socialists, they're the problem. But they've created all these social welfare systems. So they don't want the American people helping each other out, because what would happen if the American people always helped each other out when there was a crisis like on the level of hurricanes? Well, then there's no need for the federal government. See, then there's no need for the socialist system, the social welfare systems. That's what they don't want. So I know there's a lot of people that are afraid in Florida it's a Cat 5. I mean, will it be that when it lands, though? Because I know right before it lands, it always seems to go up to the top or go to the most severe, and then it drops down many times. But who knows? All of this is very well coordinated, let's say that. But don't be off guard, though, and think every single, weather system is always, deceptive or corrupted, let's say, or intentional. It's you have to remember that God does talk about He is the weather. He talks about it. Doesn't mean He's always the weather, but He does use it in the Bible when He's. It's in the last book of the Bible, but it's in other places too. So yes, I agree with you about Job, but don't be caught off guard, because, well, I think when you see God, you see the storm that's hitting all the globalists, which I would imagine that'll happen soon. The hurricane will just switch directions and head right into, Klaus Schwab's home, or Anthony Fauci, or, Bill Gates, any of them. Yeah, the World Economic Forum, the UN. Then when you see that happen, you should realize, no, that's not corrupted. That's God Almighty, and we should We should pray, but we should actually say hooray too.